Testing. Okay, I think we're going to get going here, folks, with the open mic portion. So welcome back. And then at the end of the open mic, we're going to have our featured readers come up again for another couple of minutes each, if they so desire. We'd like to ask participants to please be considerate of all the readers and keep your reading time to 5 minutes or less to give everybody a chance to read. Okay, so I'm going to start off and give you a little poem. Being as it's Mother's Day, I'm going to do something on the theme of that. I'll do a poem I wrote about my mom from my forthcoming book, The Power of a Woman. This is called In the Absence of You. Song for My Mother, Part 2. Mom used to tell me I was the one who always brought home the stray dogs. Not my brother, not my sister, but me. Frightened yet protecting my serenity, were they drawn to me or I to them? I continue to rescue, but now people, it seems, often to the consternation of my well-being. What part of the inner me do I attempt to liberate each time? Is my psyche so shackled? Will a stray restore my freedom or add to my angst? Maybe I'm trying to piece back together that which I have lost. If I can fix you, then maybe you will fix me. But it never works, and the cost is my serenity. Perhaps we need to accept that compassion and empathy are only pieces of life's maze and seldom fit all of serenity's slots in the puzzle of the universe. It's hard to tell what now I do to try to get through in the absence of you. In those final years of Alzheimer's, when I was able to care for you, I recalled how you always rescued me. Now I was able to be there for you. Maybe not to rescue, but to just see you, be with you. And even almost to the end, when I would play for you the music you loved, your music, the music you grew up with, it would always reach you. I could see it in your eyes. You would smile and we would dance. There was still that recognizable spark. And I continue to rescue. But now it is me, it seems, to the eternal harmony of my well-being. It's easier to tell what now I do as a blossoming tear breaks through in the absence of you. Thank you, Mom, for letting me bring home the stray dogs. Okay, so let's see who's up next. Theo Shuk.
Boy, that was beautiful. Now we'll have some tragic relief. So I'm a local novelist, songwriter. I'm going to read a lyric or two that I do. And last time I read, a couple people came up to me and asked, am I playing anywhere? And I hadn't, at that point, I wasn't playing anywhere. Next Saturday at noon at the farmer's market, or the Saturday market, Eugene Saturday market, noon, the first song I play will be this one. I'm going to read it as a poem this time, though. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Pull me from the rubble. Sometimes I don't know you. We're strangers when we kiss. We both want something different, but we're settling for this. Vulnerable, like lame game on the open plain, like babies in the jungle. Come on, pull me from the rubble. I just can't believe this loneliness we share. We're lonely when we're on our own, and we're lonely as a pair. And lonely is as lonely does. It's like living in a bubble. Come on, pull me from the rubble. Bridge. Waking is the hardest part to do when someone you don't love lies next to you. Waking is the hardest part to do. You know it's true when someone you don't love lies next to you. 3. Believing astrological myths, we've been blinded by the prayer. The laughs are superficial and the tears are just hot air. There's no blame and there's no shame. Don't even take the trouble. Come on, pull me from the rubble. I'm to my neck in this emptiness, so bring along your shovel. Come on, pull me from the rubble.
All right.
I'm going to try, this one I tried last time too, and I'm going to give this. This is about those things that keep you up at night. The nightmares and the screaming and the things that bother you the most. It's called Sometimes the Wolves Are Silent. It's another one of my songs. I listen to the howl at the baying at the moon. Suddenly, somehow, I've been singing that tune, but sometimes the wolves are silent. I've been looking in the mirror at the danger and the fear. I can't help but stare because there's a stranger in there, but sometimes the wolves are silent. Bridge. Sometimes I get so lost in shame because when I listen to my song and all my inspiration and my pain, read like graffiti on a bathroom stall. 3. There's an itching in my heart that I don't know how to scratch, a torch in the darkness, but I ain't got a match. But sometimes the wolves are silent. Sometimes the wolves are silent. Thank you. One more quick one, and then I'm out of here. This is a blues song off of a bootleg CD that I put out, and I never play the song, so I thought I'd read it. Once again, I'll be at the Saturday market at noon. I'll be doing a quick 45-minute set. I've got a great sax player who plays sax, flute, and clarinet, and a great upright bass player who's one of the up-and-coming jazz cats. And he also happens to be Sean, who happens to work at the bookstore. I didn't know that until I walked in. So this is one, and I'm on piano and guitar. I switch back and forth. So this one is all the things I could be, and the things that drive you crazy. I could do this, I could do that. And the song's called Woke Up Here With You. And there was a little intro. Every one of us needs our place of respite, of refuge, whether your sanctuary is a mate, a muse, a mountain, or a mirage. We all need a place where we can hide when the world is collapsing around us. This is Woke Up Here With You. I could have been an hourglass, high-stepping with the beat. I could have been Baryshnikov with lightning on my feet. But I never needed glory, never needed fame, nor that front-page news. And I sure am glad I woke up here with you. I could have been a pop star, lips sinking through my teeth, a corporate marionette dancing on a string. I could have been a doormat in the Muzak Mill vestibule. But I sure am glad I woke up here with you. I could have been a fireman flashing lights when I arrive. I could have been a poet, just trying to get out of here alive, or the special guest of honor on the grill of Fox News barbecue. But I sure am glad I woke up here with you. I could have been Peter, I could have been Paul, I could have been John the Baptist writing graffiti on the walls. I could have been Pontius Pilate washing my hands in a bowl of chicken stew. But I sure am glad I woke up here with you. I could have sung for pennies, I could have sung for gold, I could have taken out a mortgage on my heart and on my soul while selling pencils with blind men down on Pennsylvania Avenue. But I sure am glad I woke up here with you. I could have been a bishop, I could have been a pawn, I could have walked on water or just watered my lawn. I could have been Sidney Greenstreet searching Bowery's for that top secret clue, but I sure am glad I woke up here with you. I could have been this, I could have been that, I could have raised so many flags and worn so many hats. I could have done so many things and worn so many two-tone shoes. But I sure am glad I woke up here with you. Yes, I sure am glad I woke up here with you.
Well said, Theo. Now I'd like to welcome Eric Muller.
Eric.
I'm sure glad I showed up with you. Here we are. And this is apparently the hardcore. The ranks have thinned out a bit. That's all right. Jedediah in the break assured me that there'd be room for a quiet poet, and that's who I am. I've been writing a long time. One of the things that I'm having a lot of fun with is making these little fold books, and I have some for each of you, one for each of you. They're not all the same. It's just a sheet of paper, and when I have 8 or 9 short poems, I can make one of these. And this was one called Handwriting that was stimulated by talking with a poet, Amity Smith. Some of you know him. He said, "Show me your notebook," and he showed me the handwriting he does, and it was like ghostwriting. It had so light, and it was pencil, and I could, looking at it upside down, but I'm sure I couldn't have read it the other way around. So I said, "We'll get together next time. Why don't you write a poem about handwriting, and I'll do the same." Well, in the interim, the next 3 days, I put this little book together just for the fun of it. So let me see what I can find. And you main readers, you guys, were very, very strong. Beck, thank you very much. Yeah, I hadn't heard your work, and I hadn't heard the tall guy, but you know, if I were a mile away, I would have heard him this afternoon. So what the heck? It was beautiful. So let me see what I want from this little one. I'll start here. I wrote test answers on my thumb. On my index, the departure hour of the bus. Across the back of my hand, name of a pal I've since forgotten. In my palm, I ink the lifeline, beginning to end. Writing my name over and over, becoming bit by bit. Do I read Asian poets? Yes, I do. Handwriting crutches carrying me this far. And then I do have a poem that includes my mother. Thank you, Stephen, and people who have referenced Mother's Day. My mother's gone. I don't, and my wife, I don't celebrate Mother's Day for her. That's somebody else's job, our children. But I do respect motherhood. I think it's an amazing happening, and it's damn hard work for the people who do it. So this is thinking about my mother and my aunt, who are both dead. They've been long dead, and finding or imagining even some of the letters they exchanged. They became more friendly as they got older. And this is the little poem. It's a little 10-liner. I'm writing a lot of poems that I call 5 and dime in terms of the form. 10 lines, 5 stanzas, with all of the things you can do within that very tight space to speed it up or slow it down, break it into chunks, make it all one. Anyway, here's this one. Dear Mother and Aunt V, without lips or hands to speak, a box of letters you wrote each other, growing close as you grew old. Vein of language, schist. Who reads your rushed hand now? Deciphers breath and laughter. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric. I was so into it, I forgot I had to get up and introduce the next person. Okay, so please welcome Tanner Templar.
Okay.
Speak up to be heard, or forever sit in silence, waiting till the last minute. The pain slowly eases, time will heal you, as it does for everything. Just endure with enough patience, it'll be okay. For you have all of us here. You nor anyone else has to do this alone. Take our hand and we'll bring you back to a better time. Today is the present, you live in the now, going into tomorrow, looking towards every future that offers every new path. It can be bright, so take your chance to make it even brighter. For the day before is losing its shine. Don't drag your heels into yesterday's dirt forever. Press on to see the better that all can offer. Hold your head up high and stand tall, walking towards the sun. I think I have like one more short one I can read. Fighting in our darkest hour, drawing the last breath, when all looks hopeless, there is a light shining. the encouragement to get up, find it, and see that light. It'll be all right. One more. I have one more. All right. Summer it was then, a time of quiet and happiness, achieved many things until a fateful day occurred. Striked and stabbed through the heart, the pain carried and lasted. We built and moved on later. Pain later occurred again, months later. For a new loved one, I hold for a different ending. This time will be I can return to a being of happiness. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tanner. Up next, we have Jules. Come on up, Jules.
Hey there. Like Theo, I do dramatic readings of song lyrics. Just established songs from different times in history. And I'm going to start out with one from 1923. And this is a song called Mama Loves Papa, Papa Loves Mama by Cliff Friend. Oh, me. Oh, my. What a life I lead now. Nothing to do but love. That's all I'm thinking of. Ding dong, sweet song. Glad I took that little vow. Married? Yes, yes. I'll confess. It's a wow. And how? 'Cause Mama loves Papa. Papa loves Mama. Everything's dandy. Sweet as can be. Nothing to hurry, nothing to worry me. I'm so contented. There's a reason, a mighty good reason. Mama likes squeezing. Ooh, and Papa likes too. Nothing can break us up. Nothing can make us blue. We've got a bungalow, and oh, what a wonderful bliss. Spooning, crooning, and sweet honeymooning. And the secret is this. People like us, we never do fuss. We always got something better to do. Because Mama loves Papa, Papa loves Mama too. All right, here's my offering for Mother's Day. This is a song from 1916, Dreaming of My Mother, by Lady Mary Webster, voted Queen of the Opera. Standing in the big front door was a picture fair to see. My mother dressed in blue, often calling out to me, "Go play in the garden, darling, stay just where I can see." Dreaming now by the fireplace warm, I hear her again, calling from heaven to me. She's in the garden of roses, she's in the doorway up there, calling to me. Often I see my mother, her form so wondrously fair. Up there, the sweet birds are singing, where heaven's sunshine is pure and bright. Gathering flowers, she still looks down on me from morn till night. Dreaming, I'm dreaming, I hear her say, "Darling, my darling, remember me on Mother's Day." "Yes, I will always remember, dear," said I, "although you're so far away." Two more. Short ones. This is kind of like Mother's Day a little bit. Half tennis shoes, half slippers, and mismatched socks by G. Julian Walker. And you thought you were in a perfect world of order. Remember when you were color coordinated and you lived in a predictable world? Remember that precision memory of representing planet Earth at the Interplanetary Federation Convention? Remember those strange creatures getting loaded, getting high, singing and dancing, and dreaming of the Lord's pastimes? I remember dancing the tango with the angels and goddesses. every 7 1/7 of a year. I would represent the Earth with my official speech. Greetings, I would begin. My planetary neighbors, I represent planet Earth. When I was young, this was my supreme joy. Why, I can remember getting high with the wind god. Yes, it was a strong wind that day. It was a tempestuous storm. Oh, I had some good times too at those heavenly parties. Imagine how shocked I was when the president of the Federation fired me. No, you've got it wrong, he said. You're retired and incorrectly wired. I said, why do I have to retire? And he said, this festival is a public trust. When you're an old man, you need to take to the Bhaiji order. Why, again, I persisted. Because, said the president, you're acting like an ignorant bhakta. When you die, it should be done in private, not in interplanetary public. You know that. So retire to the mountain lakes. Retire to the hot springs in winter. Retire to meditation at the blue pool. Retire to lofty mountain views. It is there that the gods and goddesses will meet you, there to party again. Why should I believe I'm old? Aho, said he, your socks are mismatched. You're wearing a pair of gloves, one in neon orange and the other in turquoise blue. In your left hand you hold a plastic green flip-flop, size 13, which you claim was worn by the Jolly Green Giant. Even your tennis shoes don't match. That means you're turning out of the mundane world and preparing for flight to the underworld, there to meet your friend Lord Yama and his pet dove. Then you'll meet your ex-wife Anna in heaven and your mama in Vaikuntha. Ah, yes. I still remember those Interplanetary Federation convention parties. What's my line, I think. Oh yes, I remember now. Greetings, all planetary neighbors. My name is Jules. I represent the humans on planet Earth. Can I have one more?
If we had a shorter list, I would have said okay. All right, please welcome our next reader, Sandee Sheriff.
Wow, a little short. This one's called Tomboy Takes a Tumble. She was the girl who would jump on the giant's back while the boys stood arguing over who would save her. Her 12th summer, she raged against a body in transition and dragged those neighborhood boys up trees to frightening heights, swung from vines that creaked and threatened to collapse, scooped up snakes and frogs and salamanders like souvenirs of her last tomboy days. Still those boys followed her, followed that golden ponytail that waved behind her like a flag into whatever battle she led them, followed because they knew that someday she would realize she was not one of them and choose one to be her hero. It happened late that fall when the president died, and hearing a stifled sob from the desk behind, she turned and came face to face with that strange boy's grief. This timid boy who had never followed her anywhere or dared anything, his soul daring his courage to show his grief. Her own boyhood melted into tears and fell from her like water. "5 months after your passing, and still unable to tolerate solid food, I stare into a bowl of alphabet soup. I'm looking for comfort in language, an answer or message, maybe a prayer. Vowels and consonants sink beneath my spoon, then surface to announce vacancy." Thank you.
Thank you, Sandee. Andrew, come on up.
Go, Andrew.
Yeah.
He's lost all of his strength.
Like Samson, my hair's been cut off, and there goes my powers. No, the loud voice is still with us. This poem is called Hellholes. Don't be at home with hellholes in the head. We make it what it is inside our boxes. We paint the trim and decorate the curtains. Through the window is a meadow of perplexities about all that is outside the pale of our porches. Grooves can be ruts that thoughts stumble in, repetition, returning boomerang. Reframe the brain and change the long song. Find out you don't have to stay on what you are on. Rove upon the lawn and find new groves to groove in. Thoughts are dream-like substances. They lull so trance-like, but you can jog yourself out of them. Structures inculcating structure and restructuring the brain. Demonstrate we are wired to tinker with our wiring. Traces trickle from the voices thinking thinks in. Inflections taken in unconsciously absorbing environment like television. We are not ourselves only, but have been what we have lived in, and we are not alone, but occupied by lines spoken. All day we breathe into one another our communications. What fills the breath and makes the rest bearable is of more importance than every uninspiring thing. Let us inspire useless goodness to pass between us like tuberculosis. Introjection means even voices are contagious, sifting and parroting, navigating, conditioning, becoming aware we are drugs to each other, intoxicants, really each person a mind-altering experience waiting to combust without context, robust arguments, always with the opinions, begetting the opinions, reifying perceptions to the point that people are indoctrinating people with what to believe and do in order to find their true selves. I'll tell you something true. You do not have to do what you do, but thinking can become a thoughtless action worn in by erosion until eventually change is like redirecting a river.
All right, Andrew. Next up, Joshua Mertz. Come on, Joshua.
I got my little Abner outfit on today.
You look good on
I left Daisy May at home, though. I helped somebody move something out of Cottage Grove and had just enough time to show up, so this is me. I'm going to do 2 short poems for you, and they are both from my mom. My mom was a very playful soul. She was what I call a word-savvy lady. We played a lot of word games and a lot of silly puns, etc. And one day in the hallway, she looks at me and she says, "Do you love me or do you not? You told me once, but I forgot." And I looked back at her and I said, "Of course I love you, lots and lots, so don't give me no I forgots." And she wrote a poem one time. She called me up. I was working on a radio station midnight to 6. And she had this poem that she'd written. And it's from a true incident. Those are always the best. So she wrote this poem from a true incident that happened to her. I had her record it, and I played it for my audience at 3 o'clock in the morning, and nobody called me to complain. So here it is for you. It's called I Drank a Bug. I drank a bug. It was mixed up in the ice. It was just a little bug, but it wasn't all that nice. It was either drink the bug or throw away the drink. And if your thoughts are like my thoughts, then you think like I think. So if this happens to you and he's floating in your mug, be a man and swallow him. it's harder on the bug. Thank you, Mom.
Thanks, Joshua. Karen, is Karen gone?
Karen left.
Karen left. So she's not going to read. So next up is, what's that?
She wasn't caring enough.
Oh my. We got the limericks happening today. Let's see. John Lane. Come on up, John.
Sorry, Andrew, it's a little more of that psychology stuff. I'm trying to branch out and do something new next time.
Come on with more psychology.
Okay.
Never apologize for your
Yeah, right. Okay, hey, I'm John Lane. I'm going to start trying to make it out to Cush more often and do more stuff, too. I'm doing a lot of songwriting as well. So, thanks for everybody reading. Andrew, I really like what you did, too. It's good. And, we wish for others to detach from their detachment of our attachment to them for holding us accountable. We hold them accountable for this wrongness in not holding us accountable for all that we have potential to start and complete. We hold them accountable for integritizing themselves, for holding themselves accountable for knowing all that is in us, that is appraised as good and bad, and being able to centralize their definitionizing of accuracy to when others are non-attached to their detachment of our attachment to them in terms of recognition of who we are. And when we are just attached to the brackets, recognition itself, am I detached from those others themselves? The they, brackets, conglomerizing, and singularizing they, the, quote, themselves that are being detached having to be considered singularly. If they were all dismissed in plural, then there were so many aspects and factions that were overlooked that one would either have to consider each singular attachment or in a dismissive gesture refute a broad consensus of which others feel would be refutable situations and modes of manifestation of existence that could be nullified. If one took exemplary investigative exception to things being passed over without their individualistic uniqueness considered, then they could not detach from them. Well, they could detach from them in the nothingness of non-recognition. But what has substance and sustenance, a flavor of being or non-being, was not recognized, or at least there was not non-recognition. So there is detachment from a non-attachment, or at most a non-fulfillment acknowledgement of what is perceived as being, quote, there, even though it might not really be there. If one is completely absorbed in what is going on around one, or this, quote, one person, then the different extemporaneous phenomenon of, quote, times of differentiation were not one, but states of realism of uninvestment, of being there but not being recognized, while not being accusatorily reprehensible towards others for this fact. With the perceptiveness of dissolvement of oneself and immersing oneself with what is going on around, in this dissolvement and perceptiveness, this is an attachment to attachedness. In the immediacy of protectionism in this moment, one is loud in being heard in silence as one who is, quote, hearing and listening. When one realizes that the apex of the surety of non-surety, of, quote, falling shortedness and realization of limitations. If one does not fulfill one's manifestation of filling to the brim or overflowing of flavorful suchness and character and being, then one is creating the incremental margin of a unit of lifelessness. This void is fairly shallow and completely silent. The duplicitousness covering up of this unit is silence within the first silence, inversive magnetized whirlpool pushing outward of non-disclosure. Now the others outside of this, quote, person or thing, while laboring to extract this first thing by perceptiveness, This perceptiveness in labor is perceived by this perceiver trying to extract, and the process is minimized and defractured to minuscule components of a wish for personal achievement. It is very shadowy and silent in its secrecy of keeping it process only to itself. When other people around this silent perceiver, quote, and worker outer, cannot perceive what is going on, then they themselves in their silence and unpositionable non-knowing reveal a small amount of loudness and vibration as they dangle in a non-polarized situationlessness. When danger comes around a perceiver, it is a quick temporal situation and experience that compels one to act decisively. The quote, decisiveness is loud. The action may be loud or silent. It could be unconscious from the doer and be silent. Usually we quarantine the quote, dangerous one or dangerous situation in photographic series of moving stills which are silent as we come to terms as to what is going on with this dangerous person or situation. And we are sub-silent underneath the silence that we have infused over the quote, dangerous one. In mundane, dull, boring life, when we feel uninspired, uncreative, and stale, we seem to be steering towards more fulfillment. This infrared signpost that we are hoping to achieve is tangible and fairly loud, and it is round to itself as being perceived that it is sought after and desired. The person who is bored and stale has marks for achievement, but in times of thickness and clotted obscure thought, which he has which get passed over in ambivalence and distraction, when he muses about the heavy but fleeting moments. The moments are heavy silence, but when he comes out of them and momentarily reflects upon them, he is in a light, airy silence. Thanks a lot. I'm John Lane.
Thank you, John. Okay, next up, James Otter.
So I'm just going to start off with at a part. So I'll just say this is a poem within a poem. No, I won't. I'll just read it. Alright, laugh while you like. Good, good. Laughter's good. Now cry. It's also good to cry. No, don't. No, just like... No, just... Timer, start. Let's do this. Alright. A neighborhood of lifeless statues exchanging ideas. Fantastic ones about their past lives. Permanent smiles, painted on clothing, wholesome, honest. Incapable of betrayal. The complex is running low on funding. Richest families in the world left the planet behind. In space, nobody can hear them laughing at our struggle. A made-up war game to pass the dying times. Live-action social media. Nobody messes with the guy with the gun. Substituting his infidelity with vintage pistols from the wild days. He walks free, aimless. He never misses the target. Wildlife flourishes out of control. The chicken factories remain closed. A series of escape attempts, invasive bovine, wild horses. Animals are moving objects in the empty sockets of humanity. Fire at will, target practice, trails of skeletons, ominous pathways leading into the hills towards long since buried and collapsed strongholds. Time has vanished. Schedule without numbers. Space is next. The emptiness is filling in. A man with a ticking box digs holes in his own way. A plunger thrusts down. New pits to fill in again. War is over. The military is restless. All the weapons have become toys. Rarities that have inspired an inner conflict. Do they want to let the missiles rust or use them up? The earth won't blow up 3 times if it's an annual event instead of every day. All the people foraging for bullet casings. They snap bones open, harvesting marrow, ancient protein at the low, low cost of free. The people with nothing more than what they can carry on their backs. They don't know it yet, but they're giving those bodies a second chance to live, to help out. This world has become twisted. It's lost itself. The conflicts are over, and now it's just a matter of passing the time until the next accident. All right, there's a happy poem. See, now you see why I told y'all to laugh? Oh yeah, page 2 poetry every Tuesday at the Kush Cafe.
Kush Cafe.
7.
Every Tuesday, where James hosts.
I forgot to mention.
Check it out. Thank you, James. So our last reader on the open mic portion, before we bring up our features again for a short goodbye, will be Mike Moore.
All right, so there's been a lot of talk about mothers and tarot today, so I figured I'd give you something with a little bit of both. When we were 22, a woman I loved asked me to read her cards one mid-July night on the porch at Rennie's Landing. Her cheeks were flushed with cheap rosé, and she still wore an ivy crown from closing night. She'd been Titania in a park by the river just an hour before, and her eyes still held a slight Seelie twinkle. I don't remember much about the glimpse we got behind the curtain, just the way her eyes went dull when I explained that the reversed King of Wands crossing her seemed like a real selfish jerk. Back then, self-awareness wasn't my strong suit. Still, she followed me to grad school a year later, up the long highway to the deep north, where the snow really knows how to stick around. I thought I was real slick back then, reading such heavy books and killing a whole forest, writing the way dead men write, rigid and sharp as a sword or a frostbite wind. But one morning, when I went to tell her a real clever thought I cooked up, all I found was a half-empty cup of tea growing cold in our wedding china. Death, raise your white rose flag above my head and let me slump down chin to chest. Let my lead crown fall into the dirt, and when I am only bones, place a jester cap on my skull and raise me from my grave. The king is dead, long live the fool. Spin me one more time on fortune's wheel, and let my past life slip into the heavy fog of dreams. This time around, I will go back to the woods where I grew up. I will stumble through deep snow drifts, my skin coated in silver moon sap and bare as the winter tree limbs that bear witness to my pilgrimage. I will go to that scorched and sacred place where my mother's cottage burned to the ground when I was young and knew nothing. I will build my house there out of twigs and moss and whatever else survived the fire. Then I will break my staff to pieces and use it to light my hearth. I will learn to bake clay cups out of the mud around me to fill with river water, and I will listen to the wolf mother's howl, waiting for the sun to rise. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mike. Joined us right at the end, and you got in just in time to do a good piece. All right, so we're going to welcome up our 2 features again for 3 or 4 minutes each to close us out. And first up will be Beck. Yeah.
Thanks for sticking around. This one's called I Love Wrestling. We alphas tussle most vigorously, straining for control, power, constant flux between us, our shapes shift by the hour. When we finally tire, gasping on intensity, we collapse into each other and surrender to the heat. You found me. You found me, Muse, at the end, know the beginning, scratch that, in the middle of a rebirth. Holding on with you, our metamorphosis, you said it, babe, we are beautiful. This pull towards us grows stronger every time I drive away. Your closeness defrosted my heart just in time for summer days. I found me, Muse, reflected, crying inside your pupils. Revived yet completely undone, you woke my hibernating divinity from its stale and gloomy tomb. There are now 3 flowers in my heart that have just begun to bloom. One more. Time to transform. I don't need my hair to be beautiful. I found myself repeating to these many admirers. I'm tired, fed up, angry. All they see is vanity. Clipped my scalp until there was nothing left but me. Meet my eyes, hear and mind these words, please. I am beautiful, always. Jumping over, setting fire to your heteronormative boundaries. Don't have time to step around your projections of insecurity. No, not my problem. And no, no apologies. None.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Beck. Jed, you got another 3 minutes in you? I do. 3 or 4? Okay.
From my first collected work, Vox Vitriol, The Voice of Poison. This poem is called Our Night in Asphodel. The cars are empty wagons, windows, open frames, open-ended. Houses are empty boxes, and there are holes in the walls seen through. Possessions missing, repossession pending, there's nothing stopping it, man. The moving van drives off, another man closes shop and shutters with undressed chill at his own door where the lights are out. Each man knows his way around Asphodel and little else. Heroes don't exist. And sinner is a bad word. We have hearts, and I suppose that means a lot. I feel an ache in my shoulders, so I suppose this book bag is mine. My feet feel slick and sticky. I suppose I still believe in socks, and a cough that worsens every couple of minutes, so I suppose I don't have to buy any more smoke. And I'm walking fast, I'm breathing hard, looking ahead, so I suppose I've still got time, right? My watch is still on. I can feel it. Every time we pass a white light, we can't keep our feet, and we find the observance unbearable. Purified in floodlight, frozen from the outside in at 6:30, and dust playing tricks with senses stretched to extremes where one must consider mute illumination. I am disillusionment, a curious impression of leaves and letters, statues, teenagers, pillars, mirrors that loudly repeat all of the above. Let it echo without sensation through the groaning corridors of Main Street. The sun recedes from the entrance and we're in here, in deep. I can't keep my feet. I can't see my shoes. I can't read my books. But the empty space shoots dusty, russet neon onto a shoulder strap before the flash burns into my eyes, and it ain't there, the weight missing, adjusted to underground shadows, shifts there, Is it a breath? Is it a wind? Is that whisper down the branching vein? A conversation streaming overhead? I can only guess. Only mind. Bottomless vessel with a bucket rooted in bedrock, sometimes catching a snowflake that melts. An empty bucket lined with frost, holding the slowly gathered moisture as it sinks into the grain. Look at this snow. No two flakes have the same shape. None of them billow in the same direction. None of them fall in the same place. None can be kept. And there are more coming. And the flakes trace a jet stream, admit space, placate gravity, give ground, follow me down the well. I am full of flurry, little worried that light will leave me empty. There is more coming. Our moon is a full one here in Asphodel, glasses brimming with steam. Try as we do, we cannot pluck the fall from one another's heads, stars that fall in a combed constellation across our lashes. I see it, and the light sees through it, and it makes us transparent, but it's there because we can feel it. Covered in the wonders of absence, Asphodel's precipitation of the open space, a window open for so short a time, doors creaking shut. Give us more, cried between icy tinkling distances, stars keeping on, coming on down, falling in between, fire and water blending, bursting, and they are ours, unique by every shape and direction. And the world will soon be simple enough to shape itself by footprints and fingerprints and roughly jackknife initials on the leafless trees and leagues of spent bonfire drums, blackening the sky I will never be afraid of again. God, leave me alone. Asphodel is enough. It is home.
Thank you, everybody. This was a wonderful event today. I'm glad you turned out for Mother's Day, and I would like to thank you all again. I hope you enjoyed our event. And again, I would like to remind you to please help support the work of our authors by buying their books and supporting them online. Here's the flyer. All the information you need is on this flyer, which you can get on the table over there. Also, the videos taken of this event, including the open mic, will be posted on my YouTube channel. You can find the link on the Burning Down the Barnes website, which is also on this flyer. So be sure to grab one. As a reminder, we are here on the second Sunday of each month. We hope to see you next month when our featured readers will be... We're doing a book launch event for Moments Before Midnight, which is basically a political current events anthology of 26 Oregon poets. And some of them will be here to read as the featured readers next month. So be sure to join us. Grab a flyer and the info's on the back. Thanks again for coming. See you next time.